Good morning, everyone. How are you today? So glad to be here. A little bit of a slow start. It's been a long weekend and lots of great things going on, however. So glad to be here. For those of you who are checking in for the very first time, my name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive uh, advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And all that means is I have taken my 25, 30 years of experience as a lawyer and a lobbyist, where I was really required to engage with a lot of people on a lot of issues and build relationships. And I've brought that experience into this coaching world where I will help people who are leveling up in their businesses, in their careers, but are underutilizing their professional networks and their relationships to get, to where they want to be to achieve their goals. So I help them learn how to do that confidently in a very empowered fashion and in a fashion that's absolutely aligned with their core values. So glad to be here with you today. And we are officially beginning a new month. So you guys know that in general, I like to follow a theme for the month. Every once in a while, I'll take a little deviation, but it kind of helps things with the flow and to make sure I provide some consistent content. And this month, we are talking about sharing is caring and how important it is to share the love with your professional network. So, we're going to be talking about different things along those ways, just remembering because networking is about relationship building when you're doing it correctly. That's basically what it is, right? And when you keep that mentality about you, it is a completely different approach that you take when you are engaging with people around you, both professionally and personally. If you go into it with just what can I get out of this type of mentality? Well, you're going to get that type of thing in response. And that's normally going to come back to you in a negative fashion in some time in the future. So that's not how we approach relationship building and networking here for professional basis. We do so in a different manner, which encourages authenticity, encourages healthy relationship building, and doing so in a way that's sustainable and that will last you for the length of your career. And if you listen or follow me in any way, you will hear me talk a lot about a number of relationships that I've had for decades now. Not because that's what I sought out to do, but that's because that's how I kept track with them and how I treated them, which is basically what we're talking about here today. We are talking about 4 steps to nurturing your network successfully. Did y'all like that transition? I thought that worked out pretty good, even though it was on accident. All right, so if you're out there and you end up having any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat. And because if I can't see your name, I will still respond to the comments either here during the live or afterwards. So please let me hear from you. And during this month of love, let's talk about you showing yourself some love, because if you have been putting off scheduling time to focus on your professional development as an individual, I highly encourage you to do so sooner rather than later. And here's the reason why. We are officially in the month of February. And before you know it, the spring is going to be here. And that means the year is just really going to be marching right along. And what I don't want for you is to get to the middle of the year and think, oh my God, what did I get done? Or I haven't achieved the goals that I sought to achieve, or there's still some things that I left undone and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it. All right. Here's the thing. Schedule a chat. We can have a little consultation call, and we can talk about what your goals are for yourself and how you can reach them. and what we can do if we're a good fit, what we can do to make that happen for you this year. Okay. So that's my invitation to you to seek out either one of our VIP intensives where we can do something really hardcore and fast in 2, 4, hours, or maybe even a whole day. If you really want to knock some things out, or if it's something that you want to do and have built some relationship over the course of several months with some one-on-one work. All right. So just let me know, reach out, share with others who might need that little, that little pep talk or work as well. And I'll be pulling forth a couple of master classes here because we haven't done that in a minute. So I'll be sharing that here as well. So keep an eye out for it. All right. Had to get that in there before we start talking about these 4 steps to nurturing your network successfully. And I will tell you, these are the things that I have done for decades to maintain a really strong professional network that has evolved into some really serious friendships, right? Not just professional relationships, but friendships with people as well. You don't always have, the goal is not to be friends with your network, but it is to be in a strong relationship. And in order to do that, it requires effort. This is the thing that takes most people down, is because they think that networking is just supposed to, quote, happen. You go show up to something, you meet some people, and then everything's just supposed to magically happen. And that is not how it works. It's plain and simple. It's not how it works. So if you really want to be effective in what it is you're doing, then you have to put some effort into it. Now, I didn't say you have to, just kill yourself trying to run here and there. That's not it at all. That is absolutely the opposite of what I engage or support, because I think that there are so many things and so many opportunities that you all have, that we have, to engage with people even today when things have been disrupted and really thrown off course. There's still some basic fundamentals that you can do to strengthen your professional network, to build it out, and to do so consistently over time. Okay. So the first thing that I always want to make sure that people do is you have to remember to reach out first. And that may sound oversimplified, but it's very, very true. You have to remember people first. Are you going to do it all the time with everybody? No. But here's what happens. When you follow through on that thought of, hey, I wonder what Patricia's doing. I haven't talked to her in a while. A lot of times what people will do is they will have that thought and then we'll let it slide, right? And then a week, a month later, you're like, oh my goodness, I never did follow up. Here is where the gold is when you remember that person, when you come across that person in conversation, in a meeting, and you put it on your calendar to interact, to engage, to actively follow up with them. That is where the gold is. That is what most people do not do, right? And they don't do it in a very strategic manner. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So it's really about remembering people, and not just remembering them, but following through with them, because most people just don't do it. And it sounds overly simplified, but it is still one of the biggest reasons why people's professional networking does not, it's not strong and it doesn't follow through, right? Because there's no action, there's no engagement. So when you do that, you have to not just remember, but then you have to take action, which may be scheduling it, on your calendar, keeping a running list. This is something I've done for years, keeping a running list of people that I have met that I need to follow up with, or people that I want to meet and need to figure out a way to engage with them. It goes full circle. And how does that fit in with nurturing? Well, when you reach out to people, what happens? You start talking to them, you're emailing with them, you're texting, you're messaging with them, right? You're having a conversation. It never fails that when you are in the midst of that conversation, someone else comes up or they're like, hey, I need to connect you with so and so. We were just talking about a similar project. That is how you nurture your network because you are connecting them, they are connecting you. Like that conversation that occurs feeds itself and it leads to additional conversation, additional engagement, additional action. All right. But you have to keep it going. So, first step, remember and engage. Okay. Remember and engage. And that will take you so far. Now, what's the next step? How can you get to the next level, which is being consistent? Again, one of the things that most people, when I've talked to even professionals who are good or, they're not hesitant about connecting with people, but they will admit that they are not consistent about it. So if you reach out to a whole bunch of people, this week, and then you don't do it again for, let's say, a month or 3 months, and it's just haphazard, that can be problematic because that's not a successful nurturing, right? Because what you want is you want people to continue and to create a flow. And the only way you create a flow is by consistently engaging. Okay. Now, what does that look like? And we forgot to do our title, so we're going to do that real quick here. What does that look like? Well, when you're creating that flow, here's what you do is number one, make sure that you are still doing things in a manner that is consistent and authentic for you. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, if you hate happy hours, do not include happy hours as a part of your strategy. That will only feed you into saying, I really don't like this. Don't make that a part of your main strategy. Am I saying don't do happy hours at all? Absolutely not. Because sometimes there are things that we will have to do that we don't necessarily like, that we're uncomfortable with. They're not, they're nothing illegal, nothing unethical, nothing that's out of integrity. However, it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, I got to go do this thing, right? However, you're not going to make that your main thing. You're not going to make that your main way of connecting. However, that does not mean there are so many other ways to make sure that you stay connected with people. Okay. We're going to talk about that. All right. Here we go. We got going here and forgot to post the topic. There you go. So when you're doing that, we're talking about being consistent. So if you know that you are really good with scheduling coffee chats, then make it a part of your weekly routine to schedule 3 to 5 coffee chats. Now, here's the thing. People will say, oh my gosh, I can't, if I can't get them all in. It's not about saying you're going to get all 3 to 5 of them done every week. No. It's about taking the action to, again, create the pipeline, to create the flow that will cause those things to start showing up on a regular basis. Once you get that flow going, that is what's really going to be helpful to you, because then it'll just continue, right? Everyone will not respond to you right away. It's just a reality. People may follow up in a day, a week, sometimes even a month, right? Don't judge. Things are really crazy, but that's how you make sure that you're just continuing to move along, because you want to create that flow. And the way you create that flow is by being consistent. All right. And so that means being consistent in your actions. Some people can do it every day. If you take 15 minutes a day to say, for this 15 minutes, I'm going to text some people, I'm going to, craft a couple of emails or whatever. That works. Some people can't do that. Like, that's too much to think, okay, what if I have to do that every day? If you're very structured with your time or whatever, that probably works for you. Okay. Others may be like, can I lump this together and do this, once every couple of days or once a week? Sure. The point is to do it consistently. So if your consistency is every day, do that. If your consistency is 2 times a week, do that. Okay. Because that flow that you start to create, that is where you want to really dig in so that you don't have gaps. I've had that. I mean, that's happened to me down through the years. When I first went out on my own, I could always tell I had a super aggressive schedule, right? So I tell people about it when I'm doing trainings, but I'm not telling you to do that, right? I had a very specific reason. I was a lobbyist doing governmental relations, and I needed to stay upfront and visible with people. So that's why I kept an extremely engaged calendar of and process for getting with people. Losing my words here today. So I'm not even talking about anything that serious, right? I'm talking about whatever here. Choose your comfort level and then add to. As I like to tell people, don't just do things just because that's the most comfortable. You want to challenge yourself some and reach out and put it on your schedule and on your calendar for regular, consistent follow-up. All right. So create that flow, and you create that flow by being consistent. All right. That's your first thing. That's your second thing. The third thing is make sure and connect the dots. And what do I mean? That means the whole point of a network is to bring people together. Okay. It's not helpful if something comes and you just keep it here and you don't send it out, you don't share it, okay? You want to make sure and connect the dots, help people get connected. Some people are really, really great at this. Others are like, that's not really what I do. Guess what? We all do it. It's just a difference in the extent of it. And even if, I always get I'm an introvert, I don't really do that. Okay, but you talk to people. I don't care how introverted you are as your personality, you still talk to people. You still have to engage with others for your work, with your family, in your community. Okay, just by doing that. And the moment somebody says, hey, I was wondering if, that's an opportunity to help fill a gap, right? So it's just like when your friend is calling saying, hey, do you have a good name, a name for a good attorney? And you're like, hey, I may not right now, but let me call my other friend and see if she has. That's it. And it's about being much more conscientious about that and doing it on purpose. So when you're nurturing your network, what it means is you are deliberately and strategically going out there to connect the dots for your people. So when you're reaching out and checking in on people, or just saying, hey, I was thinking about you, or I saw this article and I wanted to share it with you, the standard thing should be, hey, what do you need? Is there someone or something that you need that you're looking for? Because if I come across it, I'd love to be able to help you with that. Okay. And it's such a simple one phrase thing to say, but that can be so powerful, because when you are willing and show that you are willing to help connect others, others will be willing to help connect you. And this is not about, my rules about giving and taking, because this is not a taking thing. It's about giving and receiving. And you never know when that value comes back and circles back around. I've had things and people that show up that I haven't talked to in months or years. And they're like, hey, I was thinking about you. And I said, literally just this morning, before I got on, I got a message, a Facebook message from someone. And they were like, hey, FYI, you want to go check out this thing at the library because there's a figure that's been created for you for Black History Month. And I'm like, who is this? And what are you talking about? And I was like, well, thanks for letting me know. I had no idea that had been done. And they tell me that, well, yes, your name was recommended by someone, and it was accepted. I'm like, oh my gosh. So when we get off of this live stream, I'm going to go hunt this down, figure out what happened, and send my thank yous and connect, right? The unexpected, those are the best. I love the unexpected things that come out of people thinking of you because you've put it out there. And so you're willing to receive that because you're willing to give it. I mean, putting someone else's name out up for something is exactly something I would do. And I do it all the time, right? But when it comes back to you, man, that is a great thing. Okay. So remember to always think about connecting the dots. And think about this. In those old little puzzles where you're literally like driving 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And if you miss one, what happens? The picture doesn't come out right. And think about that. I love this. Think about that in our professional world. What if you're the reason why the picture doesn't come out right? Because you didn't connect this dot over here, or someone had to take a roundabout way to get to something that could have been very much easier to accomplish. All right. So don't be the reason that the picture doesn't get completed. Oh my goodness. That's a whole other conversation. I love that. Do not be the reason. We got to write that one down, guys. Do not be the reason that the picture doesn't get completed. Okay. That's going to be another session. I'm just telling you now. I love that. Okay. And so now we're on to our fourth thing. And our fourth thing is making sure that when you are engaging with your network, that you lead with integrity and with values. Okay. Now, this is going to get a little woo-woo for some people, but I'm telling you, it's absolutely important. Here's the reason why. Word spread, that saying about, good news spreads, but bad news spreads faster. It's still true. Still true. And the last thing you want is for there to be bad news or, a negative connotation associated with your name and with the people you connect up with because someone acted out of integrity, someone acted out of alignment with your values. Okay. So anyone who knows me knows I'm like very, very strategic. I'm very deliberate about my professional relationships and when I'm connecting people up. And if someone says or does something out of alignment, then I'm going to probably take some action. Either I'm going to have a chat with someone, or maybe it may be as simple as they're not going to get referred anymore. Or if someone says, well, hey, I thought this was going to happen, I'll be like, sorry, I can't. Or what happened here? So not in a judgmental, questionable way, but for me, I mean, literally, like, this is what I do. And so if I'm connecting people up, there is a level and an element of trust. And what you do not want to do is to lose the trust of the people in your network. Okay. Does it happen? Sure. Are there misunderstandings? Absolutely. Right. Happens all the time. And hopefully those will get knocked out in the wash, or things come back around, and sometimes that can be tough to handle, but you don't want that happening all the time. Okay. And so when you are leading in integrity and when you are acting in alignment with your core values, guess what? That trust is maintained because people know who they're dealing with. People know who they're dealing with. They know who you are. They know how you act. They know how you respond. And so they're okay. But the minute something goes off, something doesn't seem aligned, then people kind of step back. We all do it. You kind of step back till you figure out what exactly is going on. Because even if you don't know exactly what's wrong, you're like, something's off. So let me take a step back while I try to figure out what that is. And when people step back, that means you're not connecting, you're not engaging, and you're getting out of the flow. Okay? And that's not what we want to happen. Okay? So there we are. Here are your thoughts. So as you're going through this month and sharing the love with your network, make sure that you remember these 4 steps to nurturing your network, okay? So that you can do it effectively and successfully. Remember people, remember them first and engage. Be consistent in your actions and your activities. Connect the dots. Remember to connect the dots with people. So valuable. And lastly, lead and act in integrity and aligned with your core values. Okay, that's what I got. So let me see, make sure I didn't miss any comments over here. And so here's the thing. Looking forward to following up with you this month. If you have anything that comes up, questions, comments, opportunities, absolutely feel free to reach out. I will do the same for any of you all. So if you're wanting to even just schedule a coffee chat where we just do a quick check-in and connect back up, I'd love to do that with you all. All right. So take care. We'll see you on Wednesday for our coffee chat, and I will talk with you all later. Bye-bye.